Welcome to the Celtics Journal Podcast, a weekly show covering the Boston Celtics. As always, I'm joined alongside co-host Jeff Kitcher. How you doing, Jeff?
Doing well. It was a good week. How are you doing?
I mean, undefeated this week. Can't complain. Happy as always. And we just signed former number 2 pick Jabari Parker. How you feel about that?
I feel great. I think he adds something that the Celtics have needed all season. So I wouldn't have huge expectations for him, but I'm definitely happy he's here.
Yeah, we'll definitely talk about him later on in the show. But in the first segment today, we're going to recap last week's games. It seems that the Celtics are back, and Stephen A. Smith was wrong. And we'll get into
Shocking.
that too. And in segment 2, we're going to actually go over Jabari Parker because he looked good. But we'll talk about his role with the team as well as some of the questions that our followers on Twitter have. And then in segment 3, we'll wrap up the show and give our predictions for the next couple of games. All right, let's get started.
If the Celtics have this Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum doing what he does, don't forget, Tatum went for 53 just last week and says he's only now starting to feel like himself after getting COVID in January. And then you add Kemba Walker rounding into shape too? Well, on behalf of NBA fans across the world, I'd like to officially welcome the Boston Celtics to the 2021 NBA season.
All right, so the first game we had against the Blazers, Jason Tatum, once again, he's on an absolute tear. Like, he's putting up MVP performances, and the Celtics are back whenever he's on the floor. What was your opinion on that game?
That game was awesome. But it was closer than it should have been.
Mm-hmm.
If Melo doesn't have a game like that, then the Celtics win easily. And I thought it was actually pretty predictable the way that it went.
Yeah, are you surprised that Carmelo was the player that had that standout performance against the Celtics though?
Yes, I am. Especially, I thought CJ was going to be that guy, but if you can give it to Melo and he's going to hit shots like that, then so be it. Because he's just hitting mid-range shots most of the time, so it's like you're going to give him those as a defense, and especially, having to deal with the other two guys, you're going to live and die by that.
Yeah, I mean, so player of the game for that game was Jason Tatum, obviously, right?
Yeah, but Kemba was actually really good in that game too. So it was like first half was Kemba, and then you hand it off to Tatum in the second, and that made sense too, because like they have Enes Kanter, and we all know, like, I love Enes Kanter, a lot of people don't, but I love him. But Brad was not very nice to him.
No.
Brad kept sending Kemba at him in a pick and roll all day, and that's the way they should have done it. Where if Ennis drops on defense, Kemba just shoots over him, and if he comes up and tries to pressure him, then you just run right around him.
Right.
They did that the entire first half. So
Yeah,
I felt bad for him after a while.
Yeah, it's kind of a shame, but at the same time, we escaped that game with a 1-point victory. And then we went into LA kind of with an easy game on our in sight. Like, no stars to worry about. Kyle Kuzma, if you really want to talk about him.
Kuzma's terrible.
Yeah, but we can play him off the floor when needed. But Jaylen Brown he was amazing.
He was incredible. He missed one more shot when they had to come back in at the end of the game. He missed his first 3. Like, his percentage should have been better.
Yeah, he would have shot like 90-something%.
Yeah, up there. But he did get to 40 points at least.
40
Kuzma,
points, 9 rebounds, 3 assists, 17 of 20 from the field, 3 of 3 from the line. Just an amazing performance from him.
Yeah, every once in a while he just goes off like that, and and he just can't miss a shot. It's great.
And I think it was because LeBron was right there.
He wanted to impress LeBron.
Yeah.
But Kuzma, on the other hand, like, he is. People still aren't completely out on him because he does play decent defense, but like, he airballed a elbow jumper in this game. Like, are we just gonna pretend that didn't happen?
Mm-hmm.
He's not a very good player. Like,
I think we saw Tristan Thompson airball a free throw though.
Yeah, he did, but that's Tristan Thompson, and he laughed it off. Yeah. Kuzma takes himself seriously.
Mm-hmm. But so we got the victory in LA, and then we went up to Golden State, and actually we came back for that game. Actually, that was a home game.
Yeah, home game.
Yeah. So we were home for that game, and Tatum once again MVP.
Watching MVP that was incredible.
Performances, like watching him and Steph go at it, like that was something to see.
It was so fun. It was so fun. One of the best games I've watched all season, and people like kind of forget that, even though it was just the other day, that Kemba was actually really good in that game too. Kemba and Tatum combined for 70 points. They both played well. It was just Tatum.
He had a nice dagger too.
Yeah, he did. And you see him mean mugging the whole crowd.
Yeah, it was really fun to see that too. Like he wasn't smiling. He definitely wasn't smiling.
Anybody who's mad at Kemba smiling all the time, they were happy at the end of that one. But he was great. I really enjoyed watching that whole game. Steph made me think that he has like an MVP bid. I mean, his team stinks, but imagine that team without him.
Oh my God.
They'd have 5 wins maybe.
Last year. That's why they got Wiseman.
Yeah, like they would be one of the worst teams in NBA history if they didn't have Steph. And they have 28 wins right now.
He brings them to at least maybe play-in tournament potential.
Yeah, I'd love to watch him in the play-in tournament. Like he would be one of the only reasons I watch it.
Honestly.
Yeah.
What's another team that like could sneak into the play-in tournament that you think like makes some noise? I think it's Washington.
Washington, they're playing pretty well, and I don't think they're very good, obviously, because they're barely making it to the play-in tournament if they do at all. But Russ is a menace, and I'm a big Bradley Beal fan. So
huge Bradley Beal guy.
Like I don't think Russ is that effective a lot of times.
No.
But he is one of the people that I would want to face the least. He's just so competitive. He's just like a freight train coming down the middle. I wouldn't want to go up against him. Yeah,
I mean, you're going to be caught in some high-scoring games with the Wizards. So, like, you're going to have to rely on your offense every night in a 7-game series. And, like, teams like, maybe not Philadelphia, but, like, if you're playing in the first round, does Philly really want to see Bradley Beal and Russell Westbrook?
Probably not. Like, they're going to get...
Or would they rather see somebody else?
Yeah, like the Wizards would get swept.
Yeah.
But, like, do you want that headache every game? Not really.
No. Wear and tear on your 2 stars. But to go back to that Warriors game, Jason Tatum, 44 points. Everything was falling. He had 5 threes. Like, what do you think? I mean, maybe not this year, but I think in the very near future we're going to have this conversation about Jason Tatum as an MVP candidate.
Absolutely. If he started the season off a little bit better, if he didn't miss time because of COVID, if he wasn't slowed down because of COVID up to this point, having to use an inhaler before every game, then that's a real conversation. I think it's outside forces that are making us make that distinction right now. It's not the kind of player that he is or has to develop into.
Yeah, I also think it's something to talk about that he doesn't necessarily use the free throw line to, get his points per game. Like, I mean, he had how many free throws in the last, couple games? Like, he gets to the line maybe like 4 or 5 times. Yeah,
not a lot at all. But have you noticed since his hot streak that he's actually finishing around the rim a lot better, attacking a lot stronger?
He's avoiding. Yeah, he used to be avoiding contact, but now he's going after it. He's embracing it, which is what we were talking about.
He's either avoiding contact or just tossing the ball out of bounds. Do you remember that part of his development? Whenever he'd drive, he'd just throw the ball right into like the third row.
Yeah, got to find somebody.
Yeah, give him a souvenir. But I think that's probably the biggest aspect of his leap right now is that he is driving through contact and finishing around the rim and in the paint at a really high percentage now.
It's really fun to watch too. Like just watching all these side steps and just confidence threes. I love watching those when it's like heat check threes, but it's Jason Tatum, so it's not really a heat check.
Yeah, he's not even doing that. I love watching those when they go in. When they don't, they're really annoying.
Yeah.
But he's not doing it as much recently, I don't think. Outside of the Portland game, he had to, and it was great.
Yeah. But we should actually go back to that real quick. With the Portland game, that was a bad shot, right?
Yeah, probably. People are really mad if he misses.
Yeah, exactly. It's amazing if it falls. If it doesn't,
Yeah, you're in trouble if it doesn't fall
Yeah,
out. Now that he made it, everyone's adding it to his legend or forgetting about it.
I'm glad I was able to add that to the Jason Tatum MVP mix that just went up.
Yeah, but that's gonna be a real conversation next year.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. Which I guess would bring us to our next point: MVP of the week. No other option, right?
Yeah, it's got to be Tatum. When you play Tatum like that, you drop 44 without Brown out there to help you.
Mm-hmm.
You're getting and plus and then against the Trailblazers, he was great. I think he played well against the Lakers, even though that was Brown's night.
Yeah, even though he didn't score as much, I think he only had like 14.
Yeah,
he still played a very good game.
Yeah,
which is always fun to see when you're not involved offensively, but you can still get yourself involved.
So, is there a? I mean, we both agree.
Is there
we both agree on
MVP?
Tatum.
I gotta go with Kemba Walker. Every
Kemba.
game he was getting involved. I think in the last 10 games or so, he's really been upping his averages for assists and rebounds. Like he's averaging almost 6 rebounds, I think, or over 6.
Yeah, he's getting up his rebounds.
He's finding more ways than one to get involved.
Yeah, Kemba's been awesome. I agree with that. His stats for just the last 3 games being just shy of 20 points per game, just under 6 assists, 40% from 3, 45.5 from the floor. If he has assist numbers like that, then I think that's huge. Even though like 20 points a game is awesome, if he gets close to 6 assists per game, then the Celtics are a really dangerous team. I also really liked how Marcus Smart played this week. People keep shouting that he shouldn't shoot anymore, but he had a huge shot last night or against the Warriors, and he had another big shot last week against the Timberwolves. So I think the way he's playing, especially on defense, because he's still hounding their best player. He's been great too, and he's still a good playmaker. I love having him around, but Tatum's the clear choice, I think.
Yeah, all of the Kemba haters from a few weeks ago are kind of eating their words at this point, right?
Yeah, I haven't heard anything. They're very quiet right now.
Yeah, they're silent, absolutely silent. But this team is really coming together at a great time, though, don't you think?
Yeah, perfect time. It was getting close. I was worried that if they were going to pick it up, it was going to be too little, too late. And because I didn't see them winning this many games in a row. Like even me thinking my version of them turning around wasn't even this hot.
Really?
Yeah, I didn't think they were going to rip off 6 straight wins.
I did.
You did? All right, fine.
I actually predicted
you win
that
one then. All right, you're on a hot streak with your predicting.
Yeah,
what 5 in a row now?
If we can recap that actually real quick. So within the last 3 games, we both predicted those all 3 wins. So that brings our total up to I'm at 5-2, and then you are at 6-1 for your predictions.
Okay.
So you're still winning that prediction game.
Yes, if people are going money line on games, they should listen.
Yep, definitely listen to Jeff for your money line takes.
Well, the both of us were both doing great.
Yeah, ripped off 5 straight.
Yeah, coming in hot. But
yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to the next couple of games though. But we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to talk about Jabari Parker and how he fits with this team.
And that's a design play out of the timeout.
Well, look at the timing. Terrific duck in, and then look at the fakes. That's just beautiful offense right there by Jabari Parker.
All right, so we're back talking more Celtics basketball. We just signed Jabari Parker to a 2-year deal. Definitely brings a scoring option to this team. What's your first impression with this signing?
Obviously, it was great because he did play really well. He was 5 for 6, 11 points. He was pretty much what I thought he was going to be, being a bucket off the bench, but a really poor defender. But I wasn't quite sure how good of an offensive player he was still going to be. But he is young, but he's been a journeyman right now. He's been bouncing around from team to team. But I was really happy with the way he played. He has a lot more moves than I was expecting. What about you?
Yeah, I mean, I I actually really loved Jabari Parker when he was in high school and college. So like I really wanted the Celtics to actually move up and get him like years ago. So seeing this, actually made me pretty happy.
Yeah, you get what you want. Not maybe not the way that you thought it was going to happen, but
yeah, I didn't think it was going to take this long for my dream of Jabari Parker and a Celtics jersey to come true, but it has finally come true, and I was very happy with his first game. That turnaround jumper, silk.
Yeah, that was the signature move of the night. It was great.
But I was honestly severely disappointed with his defense, and
yes, it looked
kind of
bleak.
I kind of blocked it out of my mind as like I didn't really think of it.
Yeah,
7 years ago.
Do you remember when he first checked into the game and he turned it over 2 times in a row? And I was like, here we go.
Yeah, I was like, oh well, this is Greg Monroe. Okay.
Yeah, worth trying, I guess.
Yeah, but I mean, definitely a win right now. But I definitely don't want to get too high on it because we've seen a flash and then all of a sudden it can go out like a light. So I don't want to think that we've just struck gold here, but I would like to think that this is going to be a solid contribution to the team.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
But we did get some questions on Twitter. We put out a tweet asking fans for their opinions and overall thoughts and questions for the Celtics moving forward. And our first question comes from Joe Carbone 18. He asks, "What role do you think Jabari Parker plays in this offense?" I think he's just going to be a depth bench guy, and I think I agree. With Joe. Honestly, in my opinion, he's a third string option. He's kind of in that 3 to 4 role. He's kind of behind Romeo and Grant, in my opinion. Mainly because he's a new addition to the team. Like he's only been on the team for a week, or like less than a week. So I think at this point it's about reps, and it's kind of too late for him to be a key piece in the offense, but he can definitely contribute for a few minutes off the bench.
Yeah, people are kind of expecting too much of him now that he's had a good game. That was the matchup that catered to him because he couldn't really be exposed on defense. No one on the Warriors can score other than Steph, really. So it worked perfectly for him. I think he's going to be good as a bench scorer, but definitely a third-string guy behind Romeo at this point. Mm-hmm. If I had to guess, he's going to all but erase Shemi from the lineup.
Yeah, and I think that's a good thing, to be honest. I'm not too upset that Shemi won't be on the court as much.
Yeah, I love Shemi, but it's time. Mm-hmm. I think I've had enough time watching him.
Yeah, and Parker and Ojale, they've played like a similar amount of games, right?
Parker and Romeo? Said?
Or Parker and Romeo, excuse me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I just didn't hear you. You might have said that. Yeah, that's my understanding. They've played a comparable amount.
Like it seems like all of these guys that he's kind of competing, like Parker's competing with to get a role for, he's got the same amount of reps. So it's not about like experience or anything, and it's not like he's been 4 ACL tears later. Like right now, like he's been in the league for a while since his injuries, and I think it's about time he's in a fresh situation where he can be used the right way.
Yeah, I think this is a real good opportunity for him, and in terms of his relationship to Romeo and how their minutes impact each other, it's probably going to be more matchup based because Romeo is a much smaller guy and can guard quicker guys. So if you want to make that comparison, you could, I would, but he could also really kind of step on the toes or take some minutes away from Grant. They're very, very different players, but Brad had mentioned possibly using Jabari Parker as a small ball 5, which is where Grant plays. So that's where the matchups really come into play because obviously Grant is more of a defensive player.
Yeah, I was about to bring that up too. Like, where are you giving that up defensively? If you start Jabari Parker at the 5, you're giving up that spot easily.
So they'll switch off depending on the matchup, but so depending on matchups, that's when you'll see him coming in for Romeo and Grant. But as a general philosophy, I'd say all the minutes that Shemi gets are all but gone.
Yeah, I think we can agree on that.
There was one more question that we got on the Celtics Journal from Brad Devers. And he's asking, why is Danny so against signing IT when he's clearly an upgrade on our bench? Do you want to take that first?
I mean, Brad, I don't necessarily think Ainge is against signing IT. I think it's more of a fit scenario. You might think he fits because of what he did a few years ago, but I don't know if there's really a spot on this team for him with like touches, and I think he needs that to be an effective player on an NBA team. Like he can't just, I don't think he can really be the guy that comes off the bench and hits a couple threes, because I think we already have that in Carson Edwards, and I think we'd get a very similar player in that. It's just like spurts on offense, but not necessarily the defense that you really want. But what do you think, Jeff?
Yeah, well, Carson Edwards doesn't really get any playing time right now anyway. So of the people that are in the rotation, from a night-to-night basis, whose minutes is he taking? That's not a position that we really need. What are we talking, Peyton Pritchard?
Yeah,
that's not going to happen. There's no reason to do that. He can't. There's a reason why he's not actively in the league right now. People are remembering him for something that he just isn't anymore. Mm. So he just got a 10-day contract that the Pelicans let go. He looked like he could actually do a little bit. So I'm surprised that the Pelicans didn't keep him because they do need scoring. But I think he's worthy of a roster spot on a bad team that desperately needs scoring. But that's it right now, and that's not, at that position, not what we need.
Well, there was a report that there were a few, contending teams that were interested in, working him out.
Yeah, nothing really came of it.
But yeah, nothing really came of it. So I think his effectiveness in the NBA is kind of
it's run its course. Yeah, it's run its course.
And
so I just think, well, Brad Devers is saying that he's clearly an upgrade on our bench. I don't think he is.
I'm not sure he really would be an upgrade. I think in a fantasy, in a dream, he definitely is, because we're getting 2017 IT, and
yeah, the only reason that you'd sign him at this point in his career is to exercise some demons.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's it. You're not signing him to actually be an active player on the team. If they signed him and let go of Carson Edwards, whatever. Carson doesn't play anyway.
Yeah. Like, you could make the move just to make the move, but he's not going to push the needle in any direction for us.
Why would he join a team in that Udonis Haslem role?
Exactly.
He wouldn't want to do that. He still thinks he has something left. He still wants to play. And it's not going to be on this roster.
On the roster, but he's 31.
Yeah. 32. It's the end of the road for him. I hate to say it. I love him to death, but no role on this team.
And it's unfortunate.
Yeah.
But all right, so for the next 4 games, though, we got the Bulls, the Suns, the Nets, and Hornets. We'll go over the Bulls real quick because that game starts in a couple hours as we're recording this.
Yes.
But no Levine. They have Vooch, but
yeah,
I think it's kind of going to be a rollover game for us.
Yeah, if you can imagine it, this is just going to be the Magic with less weapons.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly.
So,
yeah,
that's not a good team. This is going to be a win.
But the Jays have been kind of battling like illnesses and little things here and there. Do you think that's real, or is that kind of like an injury management type thing to kind of save them when they need some rest?
I think it's real because Rob was out earlier with non-COVID related illness. If this is a ploy, then they have really thought it through. And you know what? They deserve that if they thought that far ahead. So I think it's real.
Yeah. I mean, it seems like the bug's just going around the team, and we'll probably have another one soon.
Yeah, it might happen. But
any news on Evan Fournier coming back?
Yeah, he should be back after the Bulls game.
Let's go.
For the Suns, because the Celtics have until Thursday for that one, so he should be back for the Suns game.
Yeah, it'll be nice to have him back for the Nets game too, because we probably won't have Kemba, so to have that scoring option is going to be really nice. And we haven't really seen much of him.
Yeah,
since he ripped off like 10 threes in a row.
Yeah, last time we saw him, he was on fire. So if we're winning 6 in a row now, and then we get some more perimeter shooting, that's a very, very dangerous team, and I look forward to it.
And with the addition of Jabari Parker, I mean, you got to think that
we got some offensive punch now.
I think we're really peaking at the right time.
Yeah. So
we're really peaking at the right time.
We have a couple days off until the Suns. So who do you think wins that game?
I think we win that game. At first, I was on the fence, but I think after you told me that they're on the Suns would be on their second night of a back-to-back, I'm a little bit more confident about it. What do you think about that Suns game?
Yeah, we're on the second, or they're on the second night of a back-to-back. They're a really good team. They had won 9 of their last 10 before falling to the Spurs, which was that was a bad loss for them.
Yeah.
They had an opportunity to really move themselves into the one spot in the West, and I guess maybe they just really didn't want it. Depending on where the Lakers end up, but they didn't actually do that. They really just lost to the Spurs. Maybe the Spurs figured something out. I don't know, but I still think the Celtics are gonna beat them because they're gonna be tired. We're gonna have Tuesday, Wednesday off. There's a chance that the Celtics end up kind of coming into that a little lethargic, having more time off than they usually do. But I like the Celtics in that game, especially with the way we match up with their wings. Yeah. I'm not really that afraid of DeAndre Ayton.
No.
He's not.
You can kind of boss him around with Tristan Thompson, to be honest.
Yeah, he's got the build of somebody who should be able to take down any center, be able to back them down and score at will, but he doesn't do that. He fronts a lot and just tries to take jumpers. And
yeah,
he plays kind of soft around the rim, and we're small, relatively speaking. He could do that.
That was kind of his thing coming out of college, though.
Yeah,
you're right. But that was his thing coming out of college, where like he just would always settle for jumpers, and you're like, dude, you're close to Shaq in size.
Yeah, you look like a Greek god out there, and you're just gonna kind of fade away from contact.
Right.
What are you doing?
But after that Suns game, we got a back-to-back with the Nets. At first, I was kind of back. It was back and forth with giving a loss either on the Suns or the Nets, and then I'm actually going to go with a win for both.
Win for both. Toughest stretch of the
yeah. At first, I was going to say loss for the Nets, but then I kind of came to the conclusion that without KD now, and probably without James Harden, we don't know yet, but it looks like he won't be playing that game. I don't see. I mean, I know Kyrie's going to bring it if he does play. I know he's going to bring it. Probably have 40. So it's going to be a tough game, but I think we'll win. Especially if we have Evan Fournier and if Jabari Parker's playing as well as he did in his first game. I don't see why we don't win that game.
Yeah, I'm going to disagree with that because we're on the second night of a back-to-back, and I weighted so heavily against the Suns that I kind of have to do the same to the Celtics too. I think we're going to be our winning streak is going to come to an end against the Nets, even if James Harden doesn't play. If he does, I think that we're in real trouble. Kyrie Irving, he's proven time and time again that we have no way to stop him. He's going to score 40 in his sleep, and it's just going to be ugly. I hope Rob's back for that game. I hope he's going to be available.
Nice to have him in there.
Because I don't believe in DeAndre Jordan in their bigs really at all. They're not good enough to really counter what Rob brings to the table. Mm. But I just think that their offensive firepower is still too much for the Celtics, and Celtics are going to be second night of back-to-back. They're going to go down.
Yeah, I agree. I kind of agree now. No, I think you may have just convinced me.
So,
I mean,
no, you're gonna stick to if you're gonna.
I will stick to my prediction, but you've convinced me that this team may drop. They may have their winning streak come to an end against the Nets.
That would break my heart if that happens, but I am predicting it.
Yeah, you know what? No, you're wrong, Jeff.
Thank you.
Celtics
Someone needed to say
Nets. It. Yeah, I'm sticking to it. 4 straight wins.
Okay, so then on Sunday we're playing the Hornets. You're going dub?
Yeah, dub. No Gordon Hayward. Their entire roster kind of seems like it's the hospital Hornets. So.
Yeah, we beat them by 30 last time. It wasn't really close.
So yeah, so I'll take
they're just not a good team. They did beat the Trailblazers, 109-101 last night, which was very strange. But
they didn't have Dame, right? The Blazers. I don't think.
Either way, they should win that game. The Blazers should win the game against the Hornets. The Hornets are very bad. So Celtics going to win that again. It's probably going to be another 20-30 point game. So just to recap, we agree on the Bulls, agree on the Suns. It's going to come down to the Brooklyn game.
Yeah, it's going to come down to the
Brooklyn game. You're right, and I had 5 wins for 5 correct predictions in a row, and that's where we're going to differentiate ourselves.
Yeah.
And then win against the Hornets. We're going for another 3-1 week here.
Yep, I'm going for 4-0. So.
Yeah.
Go Celtics.
Yeah, I hope so. The Knicks are hot right now, so they're not backing off of the Celtics at all. They're not giving us any breathing room.
Yeah, real quick, the Knicks. Jason Tatum last week got Player of the Week, but this week Julius Randle got it. Do you agree with it?
No. Well, yes and no, because Randle did have an incredible week, and if you're looking at his numbers, he probably deserved it, but because he gets more assists.
Yeah.
Than Tatum, and Tatum had 44 points, and so did Randle.
Yeah.
So it made sense.
Fair.
But Tatum's just a better player than Randle is.
So. I think it's just because I feel he's so much better that.
Yeah, that's the reason why it's annoying, is because Tatum is way better than Randle is.
But it's that.
I hope Knicks fans come after me for that.
Oh no.
They probably think that Randle's better.
I don't need Julius Randle fans in my mentions.
No. I hope they come after us, though. It's not even close. They'll be on an island thinking that. So, you're going for a clean sweep. I'm going 3-1. See what happens.
Definitely. But yeah, I think we're gonna really make a push for this 4th seed. Lock it up tonight against the Bulls, and then
I
think we're just gonna honestly solidify that. But the Bucks have dropped a few in their last couple of games.
Oh, don't get me
started. I said it. I said it last week or maybe 2 weeks ago, but
I remember. Yeah,
the Celtics could make a push for that 3 seed, and I don't even know if the Bucks would be that mad.
They might not.
Yeah, so maybe we. I'm in the boat of sticking the 4 seed and take that, and play the Hawks or the Heat in the 4-5 matchup.
Yeah, so the Celtics right now. No, they're too far behind. They're too far behind the Bucks right now. There aren't enough games left to make up that ground. They're 4.5 back. The Bucks would really have to go through a slide. I mean, they're 6-4 in their last 10, so they're not playing that great, but. There's just not enough time.
Yeah.
Normal 82-game season, maybe.
Yeah.
But
maybe we'll see him in the 2nd or 3rd round. So.
Yeah, that's not the way it's gonna end up playing out, I don't think.
But for that 1st round matchup, I think it looks like it's gonna be like the Hawks or the Heat, right?
Well, the Knicks are still right in there too, because they've won 6 in a row, same as us. There's a scenario where the Celtics and Knicks are a 4-5. And I'd honestly I actually don't know who I'd rather play. I think my knee-jerk reaction is probably to want to play the Knicks over the Hawks.
Yeah, I'm not really worried with either of them. Honestly, for close games, I'm more worried about the Knicks. I think they have, like, Tom Thibodeau is a better option. I mean, is a worse option to go against.
Yeah, he does get his guys to play really hard, and that does suck to go up against on a night-to-night basis. But and also the Hawks, we did play them all 3 times in like a 3-week span.
Yeah, and they were 2-1 against us. And by the way, Hawks fans are talking reckless on Twitter right now. They're so high on their team right now for no reason, really.
Yeah, well, they're 8-2 in their last 10 too. Like they're a good team. They haven't really gotten any wins against good teams in that span, but like they are winning games. They're winning the games put in front of them. Yeah, but they beat us those 2 out of those 3 games.
2-1 record.
Yeah, that was during one of the worst stretches of basketball that the Celtics had all season. This feels like a completely different Celtics team that the Hawks fans might want to see, but the Hawks players don't.
Yeah, I can't wait for it, to be honest.
Yeah, I think the Celtics beat both the Hawks and Knicks in the series right now. The Heat are the team that I actually don't really want to play.
Yeah, I was going to say that's the one team I wouldn't want to play in the first round, or honestly in the playoffs in general.
The way they're playing, I think that the Celtics would win.
Yeah.
But go ahead.
I agree that we would win, but I do think that the way Bam Adebayo is playing right now, I know that game winner was kind of lucky, but I just think the way he's playing right now, I wouldn't want to see him in the paint in the playoffs, but every game. And then Jimmy Butler, he has a different level in the playoffs. I don't think it matters.
He does. Their playoff hero of last year, Tyler Hero.
Yeah,
has been horrible.
He's not been playing well at all.
He's been horrible this whole season. It's not just a slump anymore, but
it's a sophomore slump for sure.
Yeah, they took without KD, KD getting injured in that game. They still had to hit a game winner, and KD had like 8 points right off the bat. So like the Nets were going to destroy them last night if he doesn't get hurt.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, so I guess that actually wraps up my next question. My next question was supposed to be, what team are you most afraid of in the first round? But I guess that's the Heat. So I guess we'll talk about that more in our next show, actually.
Yeah, we will. It's a little too early for that.
Yeah. But we'll wrap up the show there. Today we talked about last week's games. We talked about Jabari Parker, the new signing, and our predictions for next week. So thank you for listening. And if you're not a follower on our Instagram and Twitter, follow us at The Celtics Journal on Instagram and Celtics Journal on Twitter. We just put out a tweet asking for your opinions and your questions on the Celtics, and we'd like to continue to do that. So keep tweeting at us, and we'll keep responding. Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot, Jeff, for joining us.
Of course, happy to be here.
You gonna be back here next week?
Yeah, absolutely.
As always. As always. All right.